Thank you, my friends. But don't cheer me. I'm just a private citizen. I'm only one of you. But I love every single son of a Tammany man of you. But I'm also trying to be a good citizen by advocating Mayor Oakley for re-election. A great mayor, a great statesman, a great man, Joe Oakley.
Hey, Mayor, wake up.
Just a short one.
Mayor.
What is it, Rogan?
Come on, Mayor. They're calling for you.
Of course. Why wasn't I told?
Nice of you to join us, Mayor. I give you Mayor Oakley.
Ladies, gentlemen, voters, I am reminded of the time...
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure we all know your record only too well. And now on to the polls. Let's all do our duties as citizens. And remember, gentlemen, if any of you get thirsty while voting, there's free beer for everyone.
I'm sorry, Bill.
You will try to make speeches, even though I've given you explicit instructions never to open your mouth during a campaign.
Well, after all, Bill, I'm the mayor. People expect to hear me talk once in a while. I tried that speech on my wife, and it went over very well.
Who made you mayor? Your wife?
Oh, of course not. You did, Bill.
I'm glad you remember it. In the future, just bow and keep bowing until you're elected.
Yes, Bill.
Sit down, gentlemen. Sit down. Oh, Mayor, get rid of this for me, will you?
Yes, Bill.
Well, gentlemen, I think we can look forward to another triumph at the polls today. Another step in our crusade to bring good government to New York. Good, that is, for us.
You're absolutely right, boss. Listen to what the papers say. Tammany landslide predicted. Mayor Oakley expected to win. Tweed candidate in front. Boss...
What does that one say, Rogan?
Oh, you don't want to hear this, boss. It's the New York Times.
Read it.
Boss Tweed frames election.
Why, that's outrageous, Bill. Have they got anything definite?
Excuse me, boss, but there's a fellow out here named Matthews from the New York Times. He insists on seeing you. You want I should throw him out?
Of course not, O'Toole. Show him in.
Why, the effrontery of the fellow. How dare he come here?
Good morning, gentlemen. You gentlemen don't seem very happy. Aren't you feeling well?
I'm sure you didn't come here to inquire about our health, did you, Mr. Matthews?
No. I thought you might give me a statement regarding the election.
I'd prefer giving you a warning. I'm not at all pleased with what you've been saying about me in your paper. I find it undignified and insulting.
It's hardly worth quoting, Mr. Tweed. Perhaps you'd like to comment on a story I'm writing for tomorrow's Times. New York elections have been controlled for some time by one of the biggest crooks the world has ever known. He is William Marcy Tweed, the grand sachem of that charming political club, Tammany Hall. Not content with the graft he got as a congressman and in other offices, Mr. Tweed has, by a system of epic bribery and dishonesty, gotten control of the city government and is robbing the people of millions.
This is outrageous. Outrageous and libelous.
If it's libelous, Governor, why don't you sue? Or are you afraid we might prove something?
Shall I bust him one in the nose, boss?
Gentlemen, we mustn't descend to Mr. Matthews' level. Mr. Matthews, you write forcefully, but very foolishly.
And I intend to go on being foolish until the people of New York know the truth about you. I'll see that you get a copy of this.
This is unsupportable. Terrible. We've got to silence
I should have busted him one anyhow.
I don't think we need be so alarmed by a mere reporter. I'll have one of our newspapers answer his charges. We'll accuse him of being in the pay of a foreign government, perhaps England or Russia.
We've got to do more than that. We've got to stop the Times from making these attacks.
A thing like this might cost us the election. How would you like to have a lot of Republicans going over the city books? As city controller, I can tell you it wouldn't be desirable.
Nothing is going to cost us the election, gentlemen. Everything is arranged.
How about the 11th Ward? We've always been shaky up there.
Everything's arranged there, too. We're paying more for votes this year. We're bringing in a lot of convicts and immigrants to vote, just in case.
Brogan, you better check up and see that the immigrants get there before the polls close. I'm not worried about the convicts.
I'll take care of it personally, boss.
Mayor, must you wander around like that, Mayor? You're making me nervous.
I can't find a place to put this. Where do you keep your spittoon?
We use ashtrays here, Mayor. This isn't the city hall.
Mira, oyes, una linda ciudad. Ach, wie schön ist alles.
Oh, look, Father. Isn't it plummy?
I'll be letting you know after I've had me feet on it for a while. I'm thinking we'll be missing the green fields of home and the good riches.
Don't you ever want anything out of life but greenery and earth? Don't you want to be a millionaire and wear fine clothes?
What'll I be doing with fine clothes when I got so much wear left in these? And as for being a millionaire, I'm thinking they'll not be giving money away even in America.
You don't understand, Father. Things are different in America. It's not like other countries. Isn't that true?
Well, now, I wouldn't say the land itself is any different. The thing that makes America such a marvel is the people who come here. They're all full of dreams, and with so many dreams around, some of them are bound to come true.
You see, Father?
Ever since I was a boy, I have heard it. In America, there is plenty of everything, and everybody gets his share.
And the people all have fine manners and live in fine houses.
And in America, every girl gets married. It must be a wonderful place.
You mustn't expect too much, even in America. Your landing card, miss.
Oh, thank you.
It's a nice little spot over here that you've got. As I stand on the boat with a lump in my throat and I see the big city, I just feel so proud I'm liable to bust. So I'm thinking I'm liking to stay in the youth and the air and the oh, say, can you see what I see? If this is America, this is for me. Opportunity knocks till it breaks down the doors, and the fortune says, take me, I'm yours. Then they hand you your private rainbow and throw in a good-looking husband for free. It seems like a fairyland out of the sky, with $10 gold pieces baked in your pie. The taxes are low and the wages are high. What a wonderful place it must be. I certainly like what I oh, say, can you see what I see? If this is America, this is for me. It's a great land of plenty, and plenty is what at the moment this girl hasn't got. As I look at New York this morning, I'll lock up my troubles and swallow the key. The folks look so rosy and healthy and gay. The Democrats tell you they all get that way from eating Republicans 3 times
United States, read it carefully. The Constitution of the United States, read it carefully. The Constitution of the United States, read it carefully.
I'll do that, sir.
Have to stand on your head if you want to read it that way. Maybe it'd be better if you could get someone to read it to you. Keep moving. Keep moving. The Constitution of the United States, read it carefully. The Constitution of the United States, read it carefully.
It's a fine state of affairs. It's not enough for a man to speak. He must also be able to read.
Now, don't you be getting yourself all stirred up, Father. It's not your fault that you didn't have time to be a scholar. You just worked too hard.
I'm a disgrace to you, Rosie. Like I was to your mother when she was living.
You know such a thing. Why, if you decided you wanted to learn to read, you'd do it better than the rest of them.
It's little need I have trouble in me mind when I have such a fine big girl to read for me. What does it say, Rosie?
Right this way, my friends. Right this way. Come along. This is a service provided by Mr. William Tweed to welcome the new arrival. Get right along now. Come along, my lad. Go right along. Come along, my lad. You too, my friends. There's plenty of room for everybody. Just come along with me.
Oh, no, you don't. We'll not be wasting our money on cabs. A little bit of a walk won't do us any harm. Take your paw off that.
But you don't understand. There's no charge for this service. This is one of the many little conveniences Mr. William Tweed offers the new arrival absolutely free.
Is that so?
Aye.
Well, that's very nice of Mr. Tweed, isn't it, Rosie?
Yes, Father.
He must be a great man, this Mr. Tweed.
He's the boss of the whole country.
Is that so?
Would his name be found in here?
Constitution of the United States. Now, this was written almost 100 years ago. It's completely out of date. Shall we go?
Aye. Well, now, we won't be wasting too much of your time. If you just let us down at some nice little boarding house, but it's not too expensive.
Now, you'll have plenty of time for that later. The first thing for you to do now you're in this country is to come along with me and vote the straight Tammany ticket.
Oh, but how can my father vote when he isn't even a citizen yet?
Now, you won't be voting for himself. You'll be voting in somebody else's name. You see, there are a lot of good Democrats, all registered voters, that are too sick to come to the polls. And there are a lot more good Democrats who've passed away, heaven rest their souls. But just because a man's had the misfortune to die, that's no reason to deny him his vote, is it now?
No, that wouldn't be showing proper respect for the dead.
Nah, I thought you'd feel that way about it. You'll be doing a very charitable thing by voting. But we don't expect you to be too charitable, so we're going to make you a present of $2.
How much is that in money?
Well, that's about 8 shillings, Father.
Do you say so? Well, tell me, is there any limit to the number of times a man can vote for these dead Democrats?
Of course not. This is a free country.
Then why are we wasting time and money loitering here? Come on, Rosie. Move up forward. There's a seat in the back for you. Make room for me now. There we go.
There, yeah.
Oakley, 35,322.
Wait, Hennessy, wait. This young lady and her father are friends of mine. Let them in.
Oh, isn't it just plummy, Father?
Aye. Come along, my friend. This way.
Oakley wins!
To meet a man that voted 23 times today. There was such a heavy payoff, I ran out of money. Take care of him, will you?
Sure thing. Hold this. Let's call it an even $50.
Oh, but it was $2 a vote you agreed on, Father. That would come to only $46.
Hold it now. Well, then, if that's all that's coming to me...
He's not only a loyal Tammany man, he's honest as well.
When a man votes more than 20 times, he usually gets a bonus. Go ahead and take it.
Well, if it's customary, I thank you kindly. And I wish Mr. Tweed good health.
Let's drink to that.
All right. Hey, waiter. There you are.
To the boss.
The boss.
Aye, it's the grand-looking gentleman he is.
Oh, he's that handsome. Is he married?
Well, what would you say, O'Toole? Is the boss married, or ain't he?
Well, yes and no.
Well, you see, it's like this. In a way, he is, and in a way, he ain't. You see, the boss's wife don't understand him, and he don't understand her. So they don't see much of each other. He spends most of his time upstairs working or figuring out ways of helping people.
He's a great one for overworking himself.
Is he up there now?
No, he's down at the city hall. But I bet he's got some work lined up for later on. Wouldn't you say so, Rogan?
I wouldn't be at all surprised. Come along, friend. Let's go and have another drink. Well, no, maybe another one wouldn't do me a bit of harm.
Rogan, I think a toast is in order.
Yes,
Mayor. Well, gentlemen, there's no longer any doubt about the results. Mayor Oakley has been re-elected. The people have spoken, gentlemen, and we're listening with open hands.
Congratulations, Bill. You too, Mayor.
Congratulations, Mayor. Thank you, thank you. It's been a great day for the party. Gentlemen, if I may say...
You're absolutely right, Mayor. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Shall we drink to a profitable future?
Are we going to continue improving the courthouse, Bill?
Oh, I don't think we ought to be too obvious. After all, we've already spent over 10 millions on the courthouse. No, gentlemen, I have a much better idea. We're going to rebuild Central Park.
What's wrong with the park?
There's too much dirt under the grass, Mayor. As soon as possible, we must appoint a park superintendent. We must find a man who is loyal and who will follow orders, and is too stupid to question anything that goes on.
Well, I think I might...
You're already mayor. You can't handle both jobs.
I was not referring to myself. I was about to suggest my brother-in-law, Ernest Depew, who served in the Department of Weights and Measures in 1853, and after that...
Just a moment, Mayor. We have a visitor. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, what are you doing up here?
You know the young lady, Rogan?
She's the daughter of that little harp I was telling you about on the way in, the one that voted for you 23 times.
20? Indeed. How do you do?
How do you do?
I hope we didn't seem inhospitable, but you did take us by surprise.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Tweed. I didn't want to disturb you, but my father and I had heard so much about you, and, well, I just wanted to look around, and I fell asleep.
A likely story. Probably a plant.
Gentlemen, you heard what the young lady said. She was asleep. Did you just wake up, my dear?
Oh, yes. And I'm so glad I did. I wouldn't have missed meeting you for anything in the world.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it, too. As a matter of fact, I'd like very much to meet your father.
Oh, he's just downstairs. I'll get him.
Good.
Are you going to let her go out of here like that? How do we know how much she heard?
We don't. The only way to make certain she doesn't repeat anything is to make certain she and her father are on our side. Gentlemen, I think we found the man for park superintendent.
It's a great idea, boss. That little harp's perfect for the job. He's as green as they come.
But what about my brother-in-law? I'm getting tired of supporting him.
We'll make him tax collector. He seems to be pretty good at getting money. Oh, let them in, Rogan.
Yes, sir.
This is my father. Father, this is Mr. Tweed.
How do you do, sir?
It's a great honor to meet you, Your Honor.
Well, I heard of your loyal work at the polls today, and I wanted to thank you personally. I wish more patriots like you would come to this country.
I'll be honest with you, Your Honor. You see, I didn't come because I was a patriot. You see, Rosie felt she'd had more of a chance to make her career here in America.
Oh, and what sort of career are you aiming at, my dear?
Well, I'm a singer. Someday I hope to be in opera.
Aye, she sings like a lark over the bogs.
And what about you, sir? What are your plans?
It's too late in life for me to make any changes. You see, I was always a working man, and I suppose I'll go on being one.
How would you like to be superintendent of Central Park at a salary of $3,000 a year with living accommodations in the park?
You wouldn't be pulling me leg, Your Honor, would you?
Position is yours, sir. Here's my hand on it. And congratulations.
Congratulations, Mr. Moore.
Congratulations, Mr. Moore.
It was me spoke to the boss about it.
Mr. Moore, the state of New York welcomes you.
Thank you, sir. Rosie, you were right about America. It's plummy.
Thank you.
One, please.
Thank you.
One, please.
The stately old trees waltz around in the breeze near the small carousel in the park.
The children and nurses quite empty their purses
To ride to the music
and sing all the verses. It's simply enchanting to see Grandma panting sedately atop a white bird.
But children and Grandma go home when it's dark. And then every lover is free to discover the small carousel in the park, in the park, in the
Oh, thank you kindly, but I can manage by myself.
All right.
Maybe you better.
Gladly.
Thank you ever so much.
Not at all. It was a pleasure. Look, feel free to call on me anytime if you ever have any more trouble.
Oh, that isn't likely. I'm in the habit of doing things like this. Why, if any of my friends saw me, I'd be terribly mortified.
Oh, don't your friends approve of riding on carousels?
Oh, it's not that. It just isn't done in my circle.
I see.
You've been ever so kind. Goodbye.
Oh, do you have to leave?
Really, I'm not accustomed to taking up with strangers.
I don't blame you. A girl can't be too careful. My name is John Matthews. I'm a newspaper man. My parents are married, and I've never been in jail. Now, if you'll tell me something about yourself, we won't be strangers anymore.
I'm afraid I can't tarry any longer, Mr. Matthews. I'm quite late for my singing lesson.
Can't I come along and listen?
Well, you'll have plenty of chances for that after I'm famous.
Yes, but when am I going to see you again?
I really can't say. Unless you're out here tomorrow. I always promenade at this hour.
I'll be here.
There you are, me fine fella. Now, I think I'll be calling you Clancy on account of you reminding me of me friend Clancy over in the old country. You like that, don't you? Now, tomorrow, I'm going to be bringing you some peanuts.
Can't you read?
Now, why would you be sneaking up behind a man with a question like that?
Well, you're certainly not paying very much attention to that sign.
And what makes you think I'm paying no heed to it?
You're not going to deny that you were feeding the monkey, are you?
No, I won't be denying that.
And you'll admit the sign says not to feed it.
Well, now, so it does. But you'll not deny that the sign is facing out this way.
No.
Well, that means it's meant for the people outside of the cage.
Yes, of course.
Well, in a manner of speaking, I belong inside of the cage. I'm the park superintendent.
Excuse me. I hope I didn't offend you, but I didn't know who you were. I never expected to find such an important man actually working with his hands.
Well, ordinarily, I stay in the office and superintend things. But I like to look after the animals myself, personally.
Oh, that shows a very kind side of your nature, Mr.
Moore. Timothy Moore's the name.
Well, Mr. Moore, your work here in the park must be very interesting, with so many improvements being made, so much money being spent.
It is that.
It's quite a responsibility for just one man. I suppose everything goes through your hands.
Oh, it sure does.
Well, just how much is all this costing?
You mean in round figures?
Yes.
Well, it would be round a very large figure. The boss would know exactly. Why don't you speak to him?
Oh, I don't like to bother Mr. Tweed. I'm sure you can tell me everything I want to know. For instance...
They always get excited when they see me. If you don't mind waiting a minute, I'll feed them, and then we can talk. Hold that a second. There you are, Picky.
I thought ducks ate grain.
Most do. But when they've been fed on grapes, they taste much better.
Who's going to taste them?
The boss.
Do you mean to tell me that Mr. Tweed is in the habit of eating the animals from the zoo?
And why shouldn't he? It's little enough to give a man who does so much for the people.
Are all these birds being raised for Mr. Tweed's table?
Oh, not all of them. Just the ducks and the pheasants and the grouse. Not the eagles nor the owls.
I suppose they'd be too tough even for Mr. Tweed.
They would. Now, I find that the nose egg makes a lovely omelette.
And what do the pheasants eat? Caviar?
No, fresh ribs. It gives them a tangy flavor. But the grouse, now they're fed on cherries that's been soaked in brandy. Mr. Tweed says it makes them delicious.
I should think it would also make them a little unsteady on their feet.
Yeah, after they've had a few, they'll just fly to the top of the cage and hang on there.
Well, Mr. Moore, this has been very, very interesting, but I must be running along. I've got something to cook up myself.
Oh, the saints be with you. Don't feed the animals. It's a lovely picture you make there, Rosie. Every day you get more and more like your dear departed mother. She was the prettiest girl in the whole county.
Thank you, Father. I wish Mother could have come to America with us. She would have been so proud of you being such a big success.
Well, I'll be getting along. Clancy'll be waiting for his breakfast.
Now, do you have to feed the animals yourself? Why don't you have one of the men do it for you?
I enjoy doing it. Besides, Clancy would be hurt if I didn't come round to see him.
Well, then at least put your coat on. You have to keep up appearances in your position.
Yeah.
Don't bother putting on your coat, Mr. Moore. You won't be needing to dress up anymore.
I think my father should wear his coat, don't you, Mr. Rogan? After all, he is the superintendent.
Not anymore, he ain't. He's been fired. No sooner than the boss saw this, he sent me down to throw you out.
What's it say?
Read it yourself.
You read it, Rosie.
Tweed stocks table from zoo. In an exclusive interview with Timothy Moore, newly appointed superintendent of Central Park, the Times learned that Boss Tweed, not content with his usual sources of graft, is also consuming the animals from the public zoo.
It's all clear to me now. It was that young fella, the one that followed me around the park yesterday.
Didn't you have brains enough not to go talking to a reporter from the Times?
He didn't say where he came from. He seemed a well-disposed young man. I didn't know he was going to take my words and twist them out of shape and put them in a newspaper.
That's no excuse. The boss gave you the job because he thought you could be trusted to keep your mouth shut.
Matthews. It says here it's by John Matthews.
Yeah, he's been given the post.
I'm looking for a Mr. John Matthews.
Right over there.
Mr. Matthews?
Yes?
You're nothing but a mean, low, rotten snake. What did you have against my father? Why did you have to get him in trouble? Everything was wonderful, and then you got him fired. Why, you're just a...
Now, wait a minute. What's this all about? I don't even know your father.
Oh, you don't. You just wrote a whole story about him in your newspaper.
Oh, then your father must be that little...
Yes, he is, and why don't you pick on somebody your own size? Why, you're just a big snake.
We'll need a great many benches for the park, Spencer. Barton, you'll supply the grass seed. We'll need a tremendous amount of it.
The list price is $5 a sack.
Then charge us $50.
For that, you'll get the best. It might even grow.
Yes, dear. Must you go around banging doors, O'Toole?
You might find it quieter in your own office, Mayor. No one would think of going to the city hall with city business. Yes, O'Toole?
There's a young lady who wants to see you, boss. She's the park superintendent's daughter.
The ex-park superintendent's daughter, and I don't want to see her.
Right, I'll throw her out.
Hummel, you'll provide the rubbish cans.
About every 100 yards, Bill?
Oh, I think every 100 feet would be better, Governor.
You big bully! Well, Mr. Tweed, I'm awfully sorry to break in on you like this, but I just had to see you. It's about my father. What happened really wasn't his fault.
Come here, you gotta get out.
Don't you dare touch me.
Me touch you?
It's all right, O'Toole. I'll see the young lady.
Thank you, Mr. Tweed. I knew if I could just get to you, everything would be all right. You see, my father didn't know he was talking to a newspaper man, and he didn't say things the way they were said in the newspaper. Well, he's just broken-hearted. He thinks you're the most wonderful person in the world.
You know, my dear, the first time we met, you seemed little more than a child. I didn't realize that you were a young lady, and a very attractive young lady. That's a charming gown you're wearing.
Oh, thank you very much. Then will you please not fire my father? He'll never say anything to anybody ever.
Now, don't you worry about your father, my dear. I'll find something for him to do.
Oh, but he wants to be park superintendent. Oh, he likes the work, and he's that fond of the animals, and they love him. He has a way with them.
Well, then we'll manage to keep him with them somehow. But as you can see, my dear, I'm too busy to discuss it right now. Suppose we talk about it at supper tonight?
Oh, well, that would be just plummy.
I'll send my Victoria for you at 9.
Oh, thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
What are you doing here?
I want to talk to you.
Well, I don't want to talk to you.
Now, why should you have to be bothering decent people in their homes? Haven't you caused enough trouble already?
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Moore. That's why I came over.
It's too bad you didn't feel that way before you printed your lies and slanders in the paper.
Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm sorry to have caused your daughter any unhappiness, but I'm not sorry you lost your job. That was a good thing for you.
So you're pleased with your dirty work, you are. And you've the nerve to stand on me own doorstep and say so. Get away from the house before I put the hose on you.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Moore. I've got you another job. A good, honest job with the time.
You can keep your blasted job, you can. I'll be needing no favors from the likes of you.
Now, wait a minute. Why did you get my father another job?
If you come out here, I'll tell you.
She'll not be coming out there. I'll be coming out there if you don't take yourself away.
I want to hear what he has to say, Father.
All right, Rosie. But I'll be standing right here by the door in case he tries any of his tricks again.
Well,
I'm a little afraid your father will come through the door breathing fire. Do you think you can trust yourself with me as far as the gate?
I suppose so.
No one would ever think to look at that cute face of yours that you could hit so hard.
I thought you were going to tell me why you bothered to get a job for my father.
I thought that was obvious. He has a very charming daughter. When I met you yesterday, I decided we were going to see more of each other. Oddly enough, when you slapped me today, I still felt the same way. I knew you were just sticking up for your father and couldn't possibly know the sort of man he was getting mixed up with.
Why are you so against Mr. Tweed?
Oh, he's a pretty bad lot. I haven't been able to prove it yet, but one day I will.
Well, until you do, I don't think you should say such awful things about him.
Well, he's trying to wake people up. But let's not talk about that. Your father isn't working for Tweed anymore, so there's no need to worry about it.
What if he was?
Still wouldn't matter. Nothing really matters but you. I think you're wonderful.
I'm not, but I'm glad you think so. John, you shouldn't. Do it again.
Miss Moore?
Yes?
Mr. Tweed sent me to fetch you.
Well, you'll have to wait. I'm not quite ready yet.
Righto, miss.
What's Tweed's carriage doing here?
Oh, I was going to tell you about that. I went to see Mr. Tweed today, and he's going to make my father superintendent again. So he won't be needing the job you got for him. But it was sweet of you to do it.
Oh, I see. You just walked in on Mr. Tweed and had him put your father back on. You must know him pretty well.
Oh, no, I don't. But he was awfully nice about it.
And I suppose you're going to run down there tonight to tell him how nice he is.
Well, why shouldn't I? I think he is nice.
But I've told you the sort of man Tweed is.
You've told me a lot of things you can't prove and never will be able to prove. You're wrong about Mr. Tweed. He happens to be a very fine man.
He is not a fine man. He's a... Oh, look. It's silly for us to be yelling at each other. If we can't agree about Tweed, we simply won't discuss him. But I don't want you to go down there tonight.
Oh, we just won't discuss it, but we'll do it your way. Is that it? Well, you're not going to tell me what to do or what kind of friends I can make. And now, if you'll excuse me, I must finish dressing.
It's very nice, Maurice.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And bring the wine when it's chilled.
Yes, sir.
My dear.
Good evening. Oh, this is a dreamy room.
And I'm glad you approve.
Oh, I'm sorry I'm late, but at the last minute I had a caller.
I imagine a young lady with your attractions has a great many callers. But pay no attention to them, my dear. They're not worthy of you.
How do you know that?
All my life, I've collected beautiful things. I know quality, whether it's in a girl or a picture.
Have you collected many, pictures?
May I show you my Currier and Ives? Some of these are rather daring. They're called the Naughty Soubrette.
Oh, isn't she pretty? Oh.
How did that get in there? But this is nice. It's called the Skater's Ballet.
Oh. That must be my father.
Your father? Out there?
Oh, yes. He was afraid to come up in the elevator. He's never been in one before, and he said he was too old to try it now. So he had to go all the way back downstairs and come up the other way. You know it would serve him right if we didn't even open the door.
I don't think it would make much difference. He'd probably knock it down anyway.
Good evening to you, Mr. Tweed, Your Honor. It's mighty kind of you having Rosie and me to supper.
Oh, don't mention it.
Oh, it's worth mentioning, I'm thinking. Sure, it's only a great-hearted man like yourself who'd be holding no grudge after all the trouble I've been making.
Oh, you're giving me more credit than I deserve, Mr. Moore. I hope you'll excuse this, but I was tired and felt like getting into something more comfortable.
Sure, I do the same thing myself. The minute I get into the house, off comes the coat.
Well, perhaps you'd like to take it off now.
Aye, that'll be. Oh, no, thank you kindly, but I'm feeling comfortable the way I am. It's an elegant place you've got here, Mr. Tweed. I suppose it's here you do most of your thinking and planning.
I've made some plans here, but they didn't all turn out as I expected.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yes.
The wine, sir.
Oh, thank you, Maurice. Well, I suppose we may as well get started.
With pleasure. Have you had your supper, Mr. Tweed?
Well, not exactly. That is, I'm not eating. Doctor's orders.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, I hope it's nothing serious.
A very slight complication, my dear. Please sit down. I hope you'll like this bird.
Duck.
Don't be disturbed, Mr. Moore. This one came from Long Island.
Well, that was a grand supper. It's a crying shame you couldn't have had any, Mr. Tweed.
I really wasn't hungry. Well, it's been most pleasant, but my doctor insists that I retire early.
Oh, we've had a lovely time.
Don't you be worrying about things down at the park, Mr. Tweed. I'll not be giving much of me mine away again.
I hope not.
Why, only tonight that young reporter fellow was prying round, but I sent him packing.
Oh, is that the caller you mentioned when you came in?
Yes.
He's sweet on Rosie, he is. But I'll not have him hanging round her. He's a malignant young man.
No, he isn't, Father. He isn't as bad as you think.
Will you be sticking up for him against a gentleman like Mr. Tweed, will you?
Well, no, of course not. But he isn't bad. He's just mixed up. He doesn't understand about Mr. Tweed and what he's doing to help people.
He's a black-hearted liar, that's what he is.
Perhaps your daughter is right, Mr. Moore. I've been deeply distressed by what Mr. Matthews has been writing about me. But that sort of thing gives people a false impression. But it's possible he's sincere. Now, if he's interested in you, you might be able to persuade him that he's wrong.
Oh, but I've tried to, and he just won't listen to me. Why don't you talk to him, Mr. Tweed? You could explain things in a way he'd understand.
No, I'm afraid he's too prejudiced to listen to me. But perhaps together we could overcome that. You could appeal to his emotions, and I to his more practical side.
I'd like to appeal to his backside with me foot.
Hat, sir? No, thanks. I've got one.
I mean your hat, sir.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you.
May I help you, sir?
No, thanks, but if I can help you, don't hesitate to call on me.
Did you have a reservation?
Well, I had several until tonight, but now they're all gone. I haven't the slightest doubt about her anymore. She's perfect.
You're expecting a lady?
Well, that doesn't begin to describe her. She's charming. She's cute. She's adorable. And yet, she's different than anyone you've ever seen. When she comes in a room, the whole place starts to glow.
The air seems fresh, the lights grow bright, the walls are charged with dynamite. The artificial flowers bloom when she walks in the room. The statues smile, the curtains wave, the big stuffed elk becomes her slave. The antique clock begins to boom when she walks in the room. The family album opens, and relatives galore look up and smile like angels. They never smiled before. And there she'll stand, so sweet and cool, while I stand waiting like a fool to meet my sweet and lovely doom when she walks in the room. The goldfish grin, the lovebird squeal, the old wax fruit tastes almost real. They lose that old familiar gloom when she walks in the room. The antique desk begins to swell. That homely corned beef cabbage smell becomes a fabulous perfume when she walks in the room. The little horsehair sofa is overstuffed with pride. It knows we'll soon be sitting together side by side. And there she'll be, so young and sweet. My heart starts kneeling at her feet. My world begins to soar and zoom when she walks in the room.
Hello, Rosie.
Hello, John. Aren't you going to give them to me, or are they for someone else?
Oh, you might as well have them. My other girl didn't show up.
Well, as long as my other fella isn't here to see me, I'll take them.
It made me very happy to get your note, Rosie.
Did it?
Mm-hmm. I let you in on a little secret. If you hadn't asked me to meet you tonight, I would have come knocking on your door. I couldn't have held out any longer.
Oh, I'm glad, John.
After all, there was no reason for us to quarrel.
You're right. It was silly of you to condemn Mr. Tweed when you really don't know him.
Silly?
Yes.
My opinion of Tweed is just the same. As a matter of fact, I was hoping that you'd change your opinion of him.
Why should I? He's been very kind to my father and to me. He's going to introduce me to Mr. Fitz and arrange for me to sing at the Fitz Opera House.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I'm sorry you think it's ridiculous. I didn't know my voice was that bad.
Of course it isn't bad. It's a very nice voice. But you're not ready for opera yet.
Mr. Tweed is going to have me work for a while with Signor Bertoli. He's the finest operatic coach in New York.
But it takes years to train for opera. You should know that yourself. You're just looking for a shortcut to success, and there isn't any. You want things too much, Rosie. That's what's going to get you into trouble.
Is it wrong to want things? Don't you?
Yes, I do. But I know that I have to earn them. That's where Tweed and I don't agree. He believes in shortcuts, too. He thinks that it's perfectly all right to violate rules and break laws, as long as he's the one who's doing it.
Now you're being stupid. It just isn't practical to always live according to rules. Some people are too important for that.
That sounds like something that Mr. Tweed might have said. Or perhaps he did.
It might be a good idea for you to listen to some of the things Mr. Tweed says. He's very successful.
Good evening. What a delightful surprise to find you here, my dear. Hello, Matthews. Nice to see you.
Hello.
I was just on my way to have supper. Won't you join me? You too, Matthews.
Are you sure this is a delightful surprise, Mr. Tweed? Or is it just delightful?
You're a very shrewd young man. Frankly, I did plan this meeting. I want to talk to you.
I see.
Even though you've been against me, Matthews, I admire your work. You have real talent.
If you and Mr. Tweed got acquainted, John, maybe you wouldn't disagree about so many things.
That's right. I found that most disagreements can be settled in a way that's mutually beneficial.
And just how beneficial will this be?
That's the journalistic mind for you, always getting down to facts. But why don't we go inside and sit down? Facts are more palatable with a little wine. Well, aren't you coming, Matthews?
No. I prefer to take my facts standing up.
As you like. I fancy myself a bit of a critic, Matthews, and it's my opinion you could write a book that would live. I'd like to make it possible for you to do that.
Financially, of course?
Yes.
And naturally, you would expect me to quit the Times to write this book?
Naturally.
It's a very tempting offer, Mr. Tweed, and I'm sure you'd be very generous. But I'm afraid I'll have to turn you down.
Oh, John.
I prefer to do my writing on a newspaper man's salary. I have more freedom of expression that way.
Oh, now you're just
I
being...
know I'm being stupid. And if some of us don't go on being stupid, your friend here will steal the whole country. Good night, Mr. Tweed. I'm sure you'll excuse me if I don't accept your supper invitation. And if you ever make any more engagements with me, I hope you'll tell me who's coming with you.
You needn't worry about that. I won't be making any more engagements with you ever.
You did your best to help him, my dear. But sometimes people are too stubborn to accept help.
Oh, he's worse than that. He's a pig-headed fool.
Now, don't be upset. You're going to be successful and famous. You're going to the very top. If he chooses to stay where he is, you'll have to forget about him.
That's just what I'm going to do.
Good. I think the little party I planned for Mr. Matthews will be more pleasant without the guest of honor.
Good evening, Mr. Tweed.
Good evening.
Good morning, Father.
Oh, good morning, Rosie.
You're leaving early these days.
I've been very busy lately with business. Very big business.
Then don't you think you should wear your top hat and your morning coat?
It's funny about them things. I looked high and low and I couldn't find them.
Did you look behind the sofa?
Now, what would they be doing there?
I don't know, but that's where I found them. Wasn't I lucky? Now you can put them on.
But, Rosie, them things make me feel like a blasted monkey.
You just wear them for a while. You feel right at home in them. Now, come on. Put it on.
Oh, I'm thinking it'll be a long time before I'm at home in such a fancy strutting rig.
All the important men wear them. Bill does.
And who might Bill be?
Mr. Tweed. He asked me to call him Bill. He says if you don't look important, people don't believe you are important. That's why I'm buying that whole new wardrobe.
And who'll be paying for this important wardrobe?
Oh, we can take care of that later. The stores will trust us. We're going up in the world, Father. We're going to amount to something and show people.
Who are we trying to show?
Oh, just people. People who don't mind being nobodies and don't like it when someone else wants to be somebody.
Well, I don't know who these nobodies might be, but there's somebody right here who doesn't know what you're talking about.
Father. You stick.
Good morning, Timothy.
Good morning.
Hey, cab! Cab!
Mickey, be back here at 3 o'clock. And don't forget my hat and coat. They're in the back seat.
That I will.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Teacher's pet. The Apple-Act won't help you any. That's old stuff.
Will the class please come to order? Good morning, children.
Good morning, Miss.
We will begin with the third grade reading lesson. Open your readers to page 26. Mr. Moore, will you read the first paragraph?
The tale of
Peter Rabbit.
Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time there were 4 little rabbits. And their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Moore.
What should I be waiting for? To exchange the time of day with a sneaking spy? Perhaps you'd like to be making some stories because of a man of my age going to school to improve himself. Yeah.
If you're intelligent enough to do that, maybe you'll listen to what I have to say. Your daughter is heading for trouble if she keeps on running around with Tweed.
And what trouble could she get into with a nice man who's only trying to help her?
One of these days, Tweed is going to be destroyed. And the whole rotten structure he's built up is going to come smashing down. And everyone around him is going to get hurt. And I wouldn't want Rosie to be one of them.
Now, who's going to do the smashing and the destroying? You and your newspaper, eh?
Possibly. Now, look here, Mr. Moore. I know that you don't believe anything I say about Tweed. And I'll admit I haven't the sort of evidence that'd stand up in court. Not yet. But why do you suppose every honest-thinking person in New York is against him?
Now, you've been doing most of the talking so far. Go ahead and tell me.
Because they're morally certain of the things we've been trying to prove. Oh, miss.
Yes?
I'm John Matthews of the New York Times.
Oh, yes, indeed. I've read some of your articles.
Well, Mr. Moore and I were having an argument about Tweed. Now, you're a school teacher, and it's your job to get at the truth. What do you think of Tweed?
I think he's a great, public-spirited man.
Now, why don't you stop trying to stir up trouble and get yourself a decent job cleaning the streets or something?
Mr. Matthews, I told an untruth just then because I was afraid. It was unworthy of me. I do not think Mr. Tweed is a good man. I think he's an evil man. I think he's the worst calamity that ever befell this city. I earn a very small salary, but if I want to keep on earning it, I am forced to contribute $10 to Mr. Tweed's party every payday. On what's left, I support myself, my mother and father, and my 2 younger sisters. And do you know why I have to support my entire family? Because my father was fired from his position for refusing to vote for Mayor Oakley in the last election. All of the men in the plant where my father worked were taken down to the polls. Some of them refused to vote the way they were told, and they were discharged. I detest Mr. Tweed. I trust that answers your question, Mr. Matthews.
It most certainly does.
Mr. Moore, this is a history of the United States. If you have difficulty in reading it, I will help you. But read every word of it, and then you may understand why we cannot tolerate men like Mr. Tweed in this country.
Thank you very much. If there's ever anything I can do for you, please call on me.
Don't worry about me. The worst that can happen to me is that I lose my job and starve to death.
Good morning, Rosie.
Oh, hello, Father. I thought you'd gone. And you're wearing those awful old clothes again. I don't know why you do it. After Bill went to all the trouble of sending you to his tailor.
I'm thinking I don't want Mr. Tweed styling me clothes, or in me thoughts either. I've been hearing things about him that I don't like. I've been having a few talks with John Matthews, and what he says makes a lot of sense.
Well, of course he wouldn't say anything good about Bill. He hates him.
I've been talking to a lot of people, Rosie, and I've been learning to read. I wanted to surprise you, but it was myself that got the surprise. Do you remember that Constitution they gave us when we first came here?
Uh-huh.
Well, listen to this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
I'm sorry, Father, but I have to go. I'm going to sing for Mr. Fitz this afternoon. I don't want to be late. Goodbye.
But, Rosie, I've been through this a dozen times, and I've been through the city charter, and I found out how the government's supposed to be run. But it isn't run that way at all. Mr. Tweed's the one who's given all the orders and telling people what to do.
Bill says everything would be in hopeless confusion if the smarter and stronger people did not take over and tell the others what to do.
I'll not be agreeing with Mr. Tweed there. The fine thing about this country is that every man is supposed to have the same chance of getting ahead as the next man. But that won't work if one man gets greedy and controls everything.
But we can't change things all by ourselves, Father. And anyway, I don't know why you're getting so upset as long as the man who is running things happens to be such a good friend of ours.
And what if he stops being our friend?
Well, I don't think that's very likely.
And why would you be saying that? Is there something of a personal nature between you and Mr. Tweed?
Well, he is very fond of me. And I'm very fond of him. And why shouldn't I be? He's handsome and he's rich and he wants me to have everything in the world.
But he's married, dear.
He doesn't love his wife and she's never cared for him. Well, I've got to go.
He's turned your head with his compliments and his swaggering ways. That's what he's done. But you'll be after receiving no more favors from him.
And why not? Just because of a lot of words you've read?
Now, listen, I'm asking you to stay away from a man who'll be doing you harm.
I don't believe that. And you wouldn't either if you knew Bill the way I know.
You'll not be seeing him again, Rosie. Now, listen, you're not going down there today to sing to his friends.
And you'll not be giving me any more orders, Father. I know what I'm doing.
If you go down there, Rosie, I'm coming after you, and I'll drag you off the stage, and I'll give Mr. Tweed a piece of my mind.
You're in the wrong
I'm not in the wrong place. I know. Hey, let me go. You're choking me. You're choking me.
Well, Jim, she has a great talent. I'm planning a production of Faust for next winter. I'll put her in that. At my age, a man doesn't make commitments that far in the future. Aren't you planning something for next week?
Yes, but that's all cast.
Then uncast it. You were magnificent, my dear.
Oh, thank you.
I believe Jim has something to tell you.
We're starting rehearsals of La Traviata a week from today, and there'll be a role in it for you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Fitz.
She will be magnificent. I will work with her myself night and day.
Not tonight. We're celebrating at the Stetson house tonight. I trust you'll join us, Jim?
Why shouldn't I? You're paying the check, aren't you? Thank you very much. Well, a toast.
Toast, Governor? Just a minute.
To a wonderful party, a lovely party.
Why don't we all go up to my lodge and continue the party indefinitely?
Brilliant idea.
Would you like that, my dear?
Yes. Yes, I would.
Then it's settled.
It's a bitter day, Clancy, when a man's own flesh and blood turns against him. And there's nothing left to live for. But you wouldn't be knowing anything about that. You were snug in your cage, with your little one safe from the world outside. I envy you, Clancy. I do.
Since you learned to read, this monkey hasn't been eating very well.
I've just been saying goodbye to Clancy.
Oh? Are you going away, or is Clancy taking a trip?
I'm quitting my job. I'll have nothing to do with an insidious and a derogatory man like Tweed. I'm only wishing I'd listened to your words sooner. He's taken advantage of Rosie, and a man who'll do that to an innocent girl is capable of any sort of crime.
And, what does Rosie have to say about all this?
She won't listen to a word against him. She's bewitched by the glitter of him and all the fine promises he's made her. She'll not be convinced until Tweed's in prison. And the sooner that happens, the sooner I'll breathe easy again.
I'm afraid there isn't much chance of that right now. Tweed is just as clever at covering up his tracks as he is at grafting money away from the people.
We ought to be just as smart as he is. After all, we are educated men. We know where the money goes in. All we've got to do is find where it comes out.
And how do we do that? Just run down to the city hall and ask to see the books?
Now, that wouldn't be intellectual of us, would it?
No.
On the other hand, we could go down to the city hall and look at the books without asking.
Mr. Moore, they put people in jail for breaking into places, especially city halls.
The way I see it, the odds are even. If they catch us, we go to jail. If they don't catch us, they go to jail.
Records are in there. Come on.
Let's get outside. Must be the watchman.
But sure, we saw him go down to the corner for a beer before we came in.
Must have been a very short beer.
I could have been a great man, too, if I hadn't made so many mistakes. Ladies and gentle voters, I cannot overemphasize the gravity of the situation we are in. We are all in the same boat, so to speak, 100% American boat, and it is only right and proper that we ship in American bottoms and keep foreign labor from our glorious American shores.
Ah!
Sorry? Who's there?
It's only me, Your Honor.
What's the meaning of this? What are you doing in my office?
The whole thing's a mistake, Mayor. We were waiting to see somebody here a little earlier today.
I know you. You're that reporter fella. And you, too. You're the park superintendent. What are you doing with him? You're a traitor, that's what you are. Trying to get something, weren't you? But you didn't, did you? Because you didn't hear, that's why. It's nowhere near here, any of it.
What isn't here, Mayor?
Like to know, wouldn't you? Lots of people would like to know, but I'm too smart. I may be just a little tiny bit drunk, but I know what I'm saying.
Of course you do, Mayor. Of course you do. You always do. As a matter of fact, you're one of the most brilliant public speakers in the country today.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Won't you gentlemen have a drink with me?
It'll be an honor.
It'll be a blessing.
You know, I've often wondered why you don't speak oftener in public. The country needs leadership. We have too few statesmen of your caliber.
Very true, very true. I'll tell you a secret, Mr. What was your name?
Matthews.
I'll tell you a secret, Mr. Matthews. Bill, Mr. Tweed, that is, doesn't want me to make any public statements. He's jealous, wants to be the big boss all by himself.
I think it's very selfish of Mr. Tweed to allow his personal feelings to interfere with the country's welfare. I was shocked to hear that he's forcing you to resign.
What's that, resign? What are you talking about?
They say that he's running another candidate in your place at the next election.
There's not a word of truth in that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Bill wouldn't treat me that way, or would he? But he doesn't dare, not with what I know. Just let him try it. I've got a copy of every transaction he and the rest of them ever made. I was smart. I knew they'd try this someday, but if they double-cross me, I'll pull this town apart.
Now, Mayor, don't let it upset you. It's probably only a rumor.
It better be.
What about another little drink, man?
It's a good idea.
A drop of the traitor won't do you any harm.
To you, Mayor, and to the future. Perhaps in the White House.
President Oakley.
To the most beautiful girl in the world, Rosie Moore.
Bill, you can't drink it that way, not at this time in the morning. Drink it out of a slipper.
Excellent idea, Governor. Rosie.
Boss! Oh, boss, something terrible has happened. Take a look at the New York Times.
What is it, Rogan?
What's the matter? What's happened?
Let me see that. Mayor Oakley exposes Tweed ring. Facts and figures of gigantic graft. Arrest him. Paid to Governor Motley as traveling expenses, $1,200,000. Oh, Bill, I'll kill myself. No, I won't. I'll travel. I'll leave the country.
What about me?
Oh, get yourself a Republican.
But, Governor!
Getting late. I'm afraid we'll have to leave.
Yes, Mother'll be waiting up for me.
Good night. Paid to company controlled by Myron Schultz for rental of private railroad cars, $3 million.
They've got us, Bill.
They haven't got me. I still run this city.
This isn't just another newspaper attack. This is the real thing, with facts to back it up. The City Hall deal, the Central Park transaction, everything.
Yes, for an incompetent man, the mayor has been exceedingly thorough.
But this is evidence. The kind that sends you to prison.
I think the governor had the right idea. We've got to get out.
I agree, Bill.
I'm afraid I wouldn't make a very good fugitive. I'm in the habit of traveling first class.
You won't get those kind of accommodations in jail.
You have a point there.
If we know what's good for us, we'll be out of the country as soon as possible.
I'll meet you at my house in 15 minutes.
All right.
Well, I guess I better be going, too. I mean, there are things stuff to take care of. So, if you don't need me...
No, I don't need you. Oh, just a moment, Rogan. You can't buy some kinds of loyalty, but whenever it's possible, I like to pay my way. Thanks for not running like the others.
I couldn't if I wanted to. You have my slipper.
So I had. Well, my dear, it looks as if our plans are off. I know this has been a shock to you, but try not to take it too hard.
And all the things they said about you are true.
But that depends upon your viewpoint. I've always believed that if you were strong enough to take something, then it ought to belong to you. All the golden rules and commandments and don'ts of life are just a cover-up for the weak. I still believe that. I'm merely guilty of an error in judgment. I should have been more careful about the mayor. Still, it's too bad things had to turn out this way for you. There won't be any opera, of course. Jim's in this just as deep as the rest of us.
Oh, I don't mind that too much. I had a lot of dreams when I first came to this country, and being in opera was one of them. But dreams aren't much good when you wake up.
No doubt we'd all be happier if we got more sleep. Now, may I take you home?
Oh, no, thank you. I'll be all right.
Very well. Goodbye, my dear.
Goodbye.
I suppose you've come looking for me to say I told you so. Well, why don't you say it and get it over with?
That wasn't our intention at all, Rosie.
We had no such thought. We just didn't want you to be alone.
I haven't done anything to be ashamed of, and I'm not ashamed.
Well, there's no reason to be. Lots of people were fooled by Tweed.
You had no way of knowing about things. You've nothing to blame yourself with, Rosie.
Oh, Father. Oh, I was awful to you. I'm
There,
so sorry.
Rosie, darling. I was the one who was wrong. I had no right coming down to that opera house and making a fool of myself, but I was glad I was there. You were singing like a bird. You'll get there yet, dear.
Oh, Father, you're plummy.